Hello, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you all hear me? Okay, I think while others join, I think we can start now. So, in our last few class, I think we discussed about the fundamentals of HTML and CSS, the essence of HTML and CSS, and we look at our course line for this semester. So today we are going to dive into the practical aspects. So we are not going to waste much of our time because I had some other things to attend to. So I'm going to share my screen now so that you can follow up with everything that I'll be demonstrating. I'm sure most of you already had your toolkit available. I made mention of browser. I talked about the VS Code, which I listed some other programming IDE. And I asked you to go for the one you think is best for you. But for me, I'll be using VS Code. So I'll share my screen now so that we can follow up. Okay, now if for the sake, for the benefit of those that are not having their toolkits, which comprises the XAMPP server, you can go for WAMP. It depends on the one that's actually work best for you. So me, I've already had XAMPP installed. So if you don't have it installed, you can simply search on Google and it will take you to their official website, which is the first link that appears here. Either click on this download and it will take you automatically to their official website for you to download the XAMPP application. Are you guys still following? Are you seeing my screen? Okay. Then if you have that installed, the next one is your VS Code. Just type VS Code or Visual Studio Code, and once you click on the first link that appears here, it will take you to their official site and you can download the application from there. So now once you have your VS Code installed and your XAMPP installed, you are going to have an extra icon on your desktop, which is the Visual Studio Code and the XAMPP start shortcut. So before you make use of the XAMPP, you need to always start the server. So I'll double click on my own now to start the server. It's trying to come up. Then the server is already up. Then I'll open my Visual Code. Then the third and the last toolkit is the web browser, which I already had open in the initial stage of the lecture. So I'll just minimize this while it comes up. Then the next thing that you need to do is to go to your root folder, your XAMPP folder. Once you install the XAMPP, an extra folder is going to be created in your system, which is you go to your Windows, um, uh, your Windows C folder. Then you look at the bottom, you see XAMPP. This is the folder. So once you double click on the XAMPP to open it, to open another subfolder inside the folder where you have your HTTP docs. The HTTP docs is the folder that will be carrying your website. So as you can see, I have some programs here. So now, in our last lecture, I told you that before you can start your project, the first thing that you need to create is your root folder. Your root folder. So I'll simply create one here and I'm going to name it as modern HTML, but I'm going to cut the modem short into MHTML folder, which is MHTML. Please make sure you have your laptop with you, then you follow up. Then now I'm inside my root folder, and I told you that is this folder that is going to carry all my application, starting from my images, your video, your HTML files, and every other files. So now I know I'm going to have HTML files. I might decide to create a separate folder for the HTML file. I'll name it pages. You can name it whichever name you want to name it with. You can either be web files or whatsoever. Then after that, I know I'm going to have other files like CSS, JS, images. So that means I'm going to have another folder again titled asset. Asset. I used capital letter for the first letter, so I want to rename this first one to the same capital letter. He has left. Yes. So I'm going to name this is the way I want to name my files, my naming convention. So I'll open the asset folder. The asset folder is going to carry my images. So I'll create another folder again called images. Then I'll have another one for my CSS. I have another one for my CSS. Then the last one um, for my JS. Then I'll go into the image folder. I don't want to have all my images combined in this single folder. So I want to have another one again inside my image folder. I want to have another one again called icons. Then every other images that is that is different from this icon will fall into here. So I'll now go back to my asset folder page. This is where we'll stop for now. In the class, as the class go on, if there is need for we to create more folder, we can. So now I'll go to my HTML. I already have one open. Then I can just right click from here. Then I'll open with what's it called? Open with VS Code. Or if I don't want to open it that way, I can go to my VS Code. I can go to my VS Code. Then I'll just click on I trust this author. Then I'll just click on file, open folder, open folder. But since I'm already inside that folder, I can just open with my VS Code from there. Then now, if you observe my HTML, this is it here. All the folders I created, I already selected my CSS image and the rest. So now, the very first thing I need to do now is for me to start creating my files. Then the first one we are going to create is our index.html. Index.html. You know, I told you guys earlier that if you create your root folder, your index.html is the HTML file that is going to load up whenever your website is being accessed. The first page that is going to load up, the first home page that is going to load up. And if you don't have index.html, like for example now, if I try to access these file that are created, this folder that I've created, localhost, then mhtml. If you remember, that's the name of my root folder. Then I hit enter. As you can see, it's going to display my assets pages. If you have other HTML content, like maybe home. Let me name this one with home.html first. As you can see, because I'm not having index.html, it lists all the documents and about.html. And if a website loads up like this, somebody can actually download all your files and have access to your script. So the first document you need to create is your about.html. So I'm going to leave this about here. Then I'll create another file again called index.html. So if I go back now, if I go back to my browser and I refresh, you'll notice that the index.html is no longer there. That means the content that it displays earlier is no longer showing up. So now, the reason why you are seeing it empty is because we are not having any file. Then now let's impute our HTML skeleton. You can either refer to it as boilerplate code or HTML template or HTML skeleton. So these are the basic codes that actually form up the structure of your HTML. Are you getting it now? Which starts from the normal open and close HTML. Are you getting it? Then header and the rest. But since I'm using VAS Code, there is no need for me to start typing everything out. I can use my Emmet shortcut, which is your exclamation mark, and you hit enter, and VS Code will automatically generate your HTML structure. So this is what is referred to as boilerplate code, or you can call it HTML template or HTML structure. Then now, the first document you are seeing here is your doc type HTML. So the code is actually telling the browser, because it's browser that is going to render everything you code here. Are you getting it? So the doc type you are seeing up here is actually telling the HTML the browser that what you are using is the document type you are creating is HTML. Sorry. So now the second one is the doc type actually defines the document you are using. Then the second one we have HTML. The HTML actually that define the programming language you are using. So the HTML you are seeing here is actually telling the browser that the programming language you are going to use is the programming language you are using is HTML, and the default language is English. Language goes to English. Then the header, this header actually contains the key information about your web page. Are you following? It contains some other information about your web page that will not be rendered to the end user. Then the second one, we have the meta chassis, which is actually directing the web browser that you are going to accept information like ABCD 123 and some exclamation marks. Are you getting it now? Then the other one, we have the meta view, which actually controls um, the display, the content display of your web page, so that it fits into different devices, unlike your phone, um, your iPad, and your system. Then the next one we're having here, we have title, which is the title of my website. Because if you visit any website, at the top here, where is it? Right. Okay, now you are seeing documents. That's the title. So the title is simply the information that appears, the name, the title of of your of your web page that appear at the task bar. Are you done with it? Okay. Okay. Now, so like now, if I change this one to, let's say, modern modern HTML, I have my auto save on, so I don't need to save. I can just come here. As you can see, the title bar has changed from the documents to modern HTML. So if you want to turn on your auto save in your Visual Studio, you can just come here and you check the auto save function. Then there is another feature of the VS Code that whenever you code, you need to go back to your browser and refresh before the changes you've made take effect. But with the help of the live server, you can turn your live server on. I have my live server here. So once I just click on this go live now, there is no need for me to always go to my browser to refresh. Immediately I carry out any changes here, it automatically take effect in my browser. So that is the title. So the next one we are going to do now, if you observe this place here, if you observe this meeting, sorry, if you observe this meeting here, this meet, you see an icon here at this side where my cursor is. But if you observe our own, we are not having an icon. We are only having the default XAMPP icon. So the next thing we need to do is for we to change, to set the icon of our browser, the icon to appear on our browser. So what we'll simply do is to open our tag, then our link rel. The rel there simply stands for relationship. You know, this is an external file. So you need to define the relationship between the current file you are working on, which is, you already know the current file you are working on is an HTML document. So you need to define the relationship that this file you are importing, this is its function. That is why if it is CSS, you have style sheet. But in this case, we are importing an icon. So we just tell our browser that what we are importing now is an icon. Then href, that is to define the location, and where we are taking it to is assets. Assets. Then after assets, I go into my image. So this is one of the beauty of VS Code. It automatically brings everything out. So I go into my icon. Then I can have favicon. Let me say favicon. Although I have not downloaded any, but I'll just look for one. So favicon.png. So let me, I think I downloaded one. Let me just check here. Okay, I don't have any. Okay, let me check this folder. Okay, let me make use of this one. So I'll paste it into my icon. Then the extension, when you are importing image, you need to take note of two things: the name of the image and the extension. So my own extension now is PNG. This is it here. This is my extension, the PNG file. So now I'll just go back to my browser. I've already defined my location, even the name. I've defined the name and the extension .png. If it is JPG, you write it as the JPG. If it is JPEG, you write it as JPEG. So let's just go back and refresh. Let's see if the image will come up. So as you can see, my image is up, which is, this is it here. Are you guys following? Are you guys there? Okay. So now we are going. Okay. Okay. We are going gradually, and we are start defining our website. So before we go into the coding, before we go into the main coding, there are some definition that I would just want us to go over, because you see we've been making use of some functions, some of features of HTML. We have tag, we have tag, we have element. I think that's the two. So the tag are, are just um are just are just functions that actually provide instruction to the browser. Tags are referred to the code snippet. They are codes that actually provide instruction to the browser, just like as we have the HTML here now. This is a tag. A tag is formed by opening and closing of an angle bracket. That's how a tag is being formed. Sorry, let me admit this person. So a tag is formed by opening and closing of an angle bracket. So all these things we are having here, they are referred to as tag. This header is a tag. This close header is a tag. Even this body is a tag. They provide instruction, and they all have their different instruction. Then now a tag is made up of an open and close. So the first one we are having here is the open tag. Then this one is the close tag. If you observe this head, we have the open tag and the close tag. Then when you have open and close tag, whatever it is come in between that tag, the whatever comes in between the open and close tag, the function of that tag will only affect it. When we go deep into the program, we'll understand all this. So that's tag. Then when you now combine an open and close tag together, you have an element. Are you following now? So when you now combine an open and close tag, we have an element. The combination of open and close tag form an element. Then the next thing I would like us to look at is also nesting. The nesting. Nesting actually refer to the way elements are being placed inside one another. They actually refer to the way elements are being placed inside one another. Like here now, from my open tag, from this header here, from this head here to the closed head is referred to as element. Then if you observe inside this element, I have some other elements also. Are you getting it now? So the way all these elements are being arranged is referred to as what? As nesting. Are you following? They create a hierarchical form of placing placing tags. For example, now see where this my head start from. See where my head start from the beginning of the line. But when I want to have another sub element, I gave a space a little, which is referred to as indenting. For example, now I have a tag like this. I have a div tag. I want to have another one again. Nesting. I have another one again. If you see the way they are being nested, you see the way they are being nested. This is referred to as indenting, is referred to as nesting. The way they are being, this, for you to place them inside one another is referred to as nesting. Then the space you give to them is referred to as what? In indenting. Okay, now let's continue. I said something earlier that if if you come to my web page, I don't have anything here now. I don't have any information. And you know, whenever you want to start your coding, whatever it is you want to do, you must give it a tag, an instruction. So whatever it is you want to do, you must look for a tag that can perform such function. Are you following? Then now, before we go into that, if you observe, let's take for example now, I want to go to, I can just, since I'm here, I can just type assets and hit enter. And assets is actually a folder, is a subfolder inside my HTML. So now we need to implement a code. It's telling me that the request URL was not found. Is it supposed to be so? Let me check. Let me check my assets. Okay, I think it seems I made a mistake in. Okay, so let me take out the X. I hit enter. As you can see, it's displaying what is displaying the content of this folder. So somebody can just navigate to this folder now and download all these files. So we need to implement a code that will actually take care of this kind of error. And if you observe, my favicon icon is not also showing. So how do we do that? What we simply need to do is that we can actually create another, since we have indent in our root folder that is taking care of such person trying to access this our root folder, we can also create an indent in all of our folders. We can create an indent in our asset folder to take care of that. So what are we going to do is, since I've already pasted that assets, that index folder, if I hit enter now, it will display what is the content of that folder, and that's not what we want. So what we are going to do is that we are going to display an error, maybe a 404 not found. Then we automatically redirect the person to where we want the person to be. Are you guys following? Hello? Are you getting what we are trying to do now? Okay, so I'll just go to my assets. On that my index folder, I can just come here, maybe write 404 not found. 404 not found. Then let me go back and refresh my page and see what's going to display. Okay, 404 not found. Okay, now I want us to use an image. So instead of displaying just follow up. I might use some tag that you don't understand or maybe that you've not seen before, but just follow up and I'm still going to explain everything. So now let me just go to, I think I downloaded a 404 error. Let me copy it from here. Then I'll take it to my icon folder. That is my image icons. I'll paste it here. Then let me rename it to just 404 because whenever you want to name a file, you must rename it with a simple name so that when you are coding, you won't find it difficult to remember whatever it is you name it with. So now the extension, I think it's PNG. The extension is also PNG. It's a PNG file. As you can see, it's a PNG file. This is it. It's a PNG file. So that's the extension. So that's a, no, I'm actually on a live class. So instead of using, let's use an image img, then the source has to define the location of the image, which is assets. Let's try it this way and see the images. The index folder I want to link the image to is in the same folder as the assets, so I don't need assets anymore. So I'll just go to images icon 404.png, then I'll refresh, and as you can see, my picture is here handy. So now what I'll do, then now I'm going to use CSS for the styling a little bit. If you don't understand, don't worry. We are going to do we are just setting up our coding environment, setting up our function. I'm still going to explain it. So what I'll simply do, if I don't want to use my CSS, I can just use the conventional HTML center without wasting much of our time. I can just use center and it will center my HTML, my image. But if I want to use CSS, I can open my style here. Then I'll just, since I'm not having much code here, I just want to use 404, then redirect to the main page. I can just use my star. The star there is just simply, it's just as if you are telling the code that I'm referring to the class of the body, the entire body. So I can just say text align center. So let me take out this center now. It will still remain at the center. So let me reduce the size. I want to use HTML to reduce the size to like 350px and the height also to like 350px because I don't want it to take up the whole page. Are we following? Are you there? Okay. Then now I want to give it a margin from the top, a margin top. We are going to do this. Don't worry if you don't understand what text align, don't worry. Once we go into HTML, I'm going to break everything down. What we are doing now, we are setting up our page. So I'm going to give it a margin top of like 20px so that it will be a bit far away. It will give a space from the heading. So 404. So I'm having my error page now. So now what I want to do is